Completing the Lodge Quarterly Audit Report at the end of every quarter is the single most important duty you have in the position as Lodge Secretary-Treasurer. Submitting your audit report within 90 days after the end of the quarter determines whether or not your lodge will receive the quarterly refund check or direct deposit. In addition, your quarterly audit reports can be used by National Division to complete the annual LM report to the U.S. Department of Labor. If you turn your audit reports in regularly, National Division will automatically complete the LM report for you. Before we begin with the report, let us review each quarter as it is covered in Module 2 of the Cash Record Book. The Brotherhood's fiscal year is April 1st to March 31st and is divided into 4 quarters: April 1st through June 30th, July 1st through September 30th, October 1st through December 31st, and the final quarter of the fiscal year is January 1st through March 31st. Once the audit report is finished, you would attach copies of the corresponding bank statements to the report and mail it to National Division. When you start to complete your quarterly report, it is always a good idea to have a copy of your previously filed report nearby for reference. At the top of the report, enter your system division name along with the lodge number, starting with the Assets and Liabilities section on the quarter beginning side. Write in the month, day, and year under the quarter beginning. In this example, we will start with April 1st of the current year. Lines 1 through 9 in the quarter beginning column are almost always the same as lines 1 through 9 in the quarter ending column of your previous audit. The only time this would not be true is if your lodge was recently audited by the National Division Auditor, in which case you would begin your next audit report with lines 1 through 9 from the quarter ending column of the auditor's last audit. Line 1 is money on hand in the banks. This amount includes all lodge funds in checking and savings accounts, as well as any CDs in the name of the lodge. Make sure this amount equals the ending balance on line 1 from the previous quarter's audit. Line 2 is any unpaid loans due to the lodge. National Division highly discourages any local lodge from making loans to officers or members, and any loans in excess of $2,000 are strictly prohibited by law. Line 3 is other investments held by the lodge. This includes the current market value of any stocks, mutual funds, or government securities held by the lodge. National Division can store your savings bonds or securities free of charge in our safe at the Novi, Michigan office. Line 4 is other assets. This would include any assets of your lodge with the purchase price of $100 or more and a useful life of at least 1 year. This could include such items as a laptop computer, printer, or a scanner that were purchased by the lodge. Keep in mind that the purchase of the computer software is not included in lodge assets. If you discarded any assets during the quarter, make sure to reduce the amount on line 4 on the quarter ending side of the audit report. Write an explanation on the bottom of the audit report or on a separate sheet of which assets were discarded and their purchase price if available. If you do not know the original purchase price of the item being discarded, you can estimate the original cost. Line 5 is the total of lines 1 through 4. Lines 6 through 8 are to list the total liabilities or total unpaid bills of the lodge. This would not include any outstanding checks. Line 9 is net assets. That would be the line 5 total minus the line 8 total. On the quarter ending side of this section, you would fill in June 30th plus the current year under the quarter ending and begin the process all over. Your line 1 quarter ending amount will always be the same as your item N amount. The item N amount is calculated on the back of the quarterly audit report in the reconciliation of bank accounts section. Now let's move on to the receipts section of the report. Line A starts with money on hand and in the bank as of the first day of the quarter. This amount must always match the quarter beginning amount on line 1. Lines B and C are used to report any dues and fees that you may have collected during the quarter. Most members are now on dues checkoff, so these lines are seldom used anymore. Line D is the amount of your lodge quarterly refund check or direct deposit from National Division. Line E is cash received from your system division or federation. This line is also seldom used anymore and can be left blank. Line F is used to list all other receipts of the lodge, such as interest earned during the quarter, redeemed savings bonds, lodge raffle proceeds, or any other miscellaneous deposits made into the lodge account during the quarter. Add lines A through F to determine total receipts for the quarter. Now we can proceed to the disbursement section of the report. Lines G and H are used to report any dues or fees remitted to National Division during the quarter. These lines are also seldom used anymore. Line IA shows payments made directly to lodge officers for things such as reimbursing an officer for picking up refreshments for a lodge meeting, or paying an officer a daily or monthly salary for the performance of their duties. National Division offers a payroll service to all local lodges for the payment of any lodge salaries or dues reimbursements. The amount paid would be charged to the lodge's account at National Division. In addition, all payroll taxes would be properly withheld and paid, thus relieving the lodge secretary-treasurer of this burden. Line IB is any payments made to employees of the lodge. This line is used when you may be reimbursing a member of the lodge who is not an elected officer for possibly picking up refreshments or food for a lodge meeting, or reimbursing them for expenses of attending a National Division training seminar. Line J is not used if National Division is handling all of your lodge payroll transactions. Line K is used for general expenses of the lodge. This would include such things as stamps, envelopes, meeting hall rental, printer cartridges, or paper, etc. Anything that you normally need to run the lodge would be included on Line K. These types of purchases normally do not need advanced lodge approval. Line L is for any contributions made. This could include donations made to the Red Cross, Salvation Army, Toys for Tots, etc. These types of disbursements would need lodge approval in advance. Line M is for other disbursements. These are purchases made that are not necessary to run the lodge. For example, door prizes at meetings, flowers for funerals, purchasing a lodge laptop computer, the cost of a lodge picnic or holiday party, etc. These types of disbursements would also need prior lodge approval. Remember to thoroughly document the approval of these types of purchases in your lodge minutes. Line N is money on hand and in the banks at the end of the quarter. For this example, since we are in the first quarter, we would enter June 30th plus the current year. Item N is determined from the reconciliation of bank accounts on the back of the audit report. Add lines G through N to determine total disbursements for the quarter. For a quick check to make sure that your audit report is in balance, line 1, quarter beginning, and item A should always match. Line 1, quarter ending, and item N should always match. In addition, the total receipts line and total disbursements line should always match. In the section for unused official dues receipts on hand, the majority of our lodges no longer have dues receipts books. Therefore, you would just write the word none in this section. If you still have dues receipt books, just fill in the numbers of the books on the lines provided in this section. Below the dues receipt section, the Secretary-Treasurer must sign and enter his or her contact information, including their name, address, and phone number. If your lodge has an active auditing committee, the auditing committee statement is where they would sign the report. Most lodges don't have an active auditing committee, so it is not a requirement. If you do have an auditing committee, do not wait for them to sign the report before sending it to National Division. Just take a copy of your audit report to the next lodge meeting for review. At the bottom of the audit report is an open area where you can list any fixed assets of your lodge that were purchased or deleted during the quarter. If the lodge just purchased a new printer, then you would write that in this section, or if you're discarding old equipment, then you would write that in this section as well. On the back of the quarterly audit report, you will find 4 sections. The bank certification of balance section is not required to be completed due to attaching copies of your bank statements to the audit report for the quarter ending, so just leave this section blank. The reconciliation of bank accounts should be used to determine your item and figure on the front of the audit report. If you wrote any checks during the quarter that have not yet cleared the bank, or possibly received a lodge quarterly refund check from National Division that you have not yet deposited, this is where you would account for these types of things in calculating your quarter ending balance. This is another good reason to sign up for direct deposit of your lodge quarterly refunds from National Division. In the Payments to Officers and Employees section, you would describe the payments reported on lines I, A, and B on the front of the audit report. This is required for salary payments or expense reimbursements made directly to officers or employees of the lodge. National Division recommends that any payments to officers or members for reimbursed expenses be made directly from the lodge account, and that any salaries or dues reimbursements be submitted to National Division on the ES1 form for payment. The last section of the audit report is contributions. This is where you would describe the payments reported on line L on the front of the audit report. Fill in the name of the organization to which the contribution was made and the amount donated. It should be repeated that completing your quarterly audit report is the single most important part of your job as Lodge Secretary-Treasurer. The annual LM report to the U.S. Department of Labor cannot be done by National Division if we have not received the 4 quarterly audits covering the fiscal year April 1st through March 31st. Once these reports are received, National Division will automatically complete the LM report and contact you and the Lodge President about signing and submitting it to the Department of Labor. In closing, although it is not required, you can include copies of any receipts and checks with the corresponding quarterly audit report. Then when it comes time for National Division to complete the Lodge's regularly scheduled audit, which is covered in the next module, we will already have the majority of the information needed to conduct the audit. This will save you considerable time and effort. Here is the address where you will be sending your quarterly audit reports.